I want to talk about the importance of hard work because I think it's the root of everything. Before we do, just to rewind a minute or so, you used to worry what people thought of you. You don't now. There will be people listening to this podcast who it is a daily struggle for them being judged by other people, outside forces. What tools or tricks did you employ to get yourself to a point where all that matters is what you think of yourself, not what other people think of you?
That's a very tough question, and I don't think there's a quick fix to that. I think it has to come from being comfortable within yourself. And I don't know the answer to that question because, we live in a world, you'll get it all the time. I get it all the time. You look on, so if you actually read through social media, how can you have any confidence?
Should we discuss then what each of us think of it? Shall I tell you what I think of it when I see it, when I see the criticism that comes my way? I don't know what you get, but all I get is he knows nothing about football. He's a smug
Yeah.
And I think that my response initially, I hated it, and I was desperate to show people that I did know about football. So I started asking longer, more involved, more convoluted questions to the guys on the show, using information from like the history of football, thinking I've got to prove to these people that I do know about football. And then I started worrying about making sure I didn't come across as being smug, right? And it got to the point where I would be sitting on live telly, about to ask a question to Paul Scholes or whatever, and I would think, oh, hold on, what are people on Twitter going to say about that if I drop their joke in? Or I remember having a laugh with Steven Gerrard about the slip against Chelsea. And I wouldn't do that again because the amount of shit that came. I was like, excuse me, Steven Gerrard doesn't need you lot to look after him and defend him. Like, he is big enough, and if he can laugh with me about slipping against Chelsea, I'm sure that you can as well. But I did get to a point where I was self-editing before I'd ask a question, which I think is a dangerous place to get to. And eventually, the sort of thing that made the change for me, well, there was two really. The first one was people that decide to send me really, and you'll get it as well, horrendous, abusive, nasty, obnoxious stuff. I now understand that those comments are all about them and absolutely nothing to do with me. And also, I've just created a sort of circle around myself of people that know me, know what my life's about, know what my job entails, and I will absolutely listen to those people and I will take on board what they say. And if you're just some guy living in Middlesex in between wanks, sending me a message on Twitter, it honestly, it doesn't affect me at all. I'm almost like, bring it on now. I'm almost the total opposite of what I was.
Yeah. It is quite strange. I said to my dad the other day, because my dad was like, he's on Twitter and he's useless. And he's like, this geezer, right? He's saying to me, he's talking about the darts, right? And he's saying, and I've replied to him and I said, but, and then he come back and I said, whoa, what are you doing? And actually when you think about it, like, it's hard for us because the interaction that we have with fans is actually one of the reasons why we're so successful, because we are accessible. It's not some bloke in the office running my Twitter account. It's me, right? So, but at the same time, you can't, for everything that you're putting in, all the stuff that we just talked about for the last 15 minutes, how can you let that direction be altered by some bloke that, one, you have no idea who it is, right? Yeah. Two, has achieved absolutely nothing, right? And then when you start breaking it down, but it still hurt. You can't, it doesn't matter whether some bloke's achieved nothing. I wouldn't say, if you were walking down the street and some bloke come up to you and said, oh, you prick, you're going to chin him. Yeah. But you can't do that. And I think actually when I look at social media, I look at Twitter now particularly, I think it's a terrible place to be. And when we talk about, I was going to post something the other day. I do actually sometimes go to post stuff sometimes. Like, this is probably what you say. You shouldn't do. And I think, I type it out and I go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to leave it because you know what's coming back. Yeah. And it was about mental health, right? And it was like, if you're struggling with mental health, I really think the first thing you should do is delete social media. Yeah. Right? It is so toxic. I mean, Instagram's all right, but Twitter is so toxic. I mean, is there anything but bad news or negativity anywhere? Every now and again, you might see a nice post, right? That makes you go, oh, makes me feel warm inside. But basically, it's just I just think if you are not mentally stable or you are struggling what is the point?
I've got to the point where I quite like the criticism now. I saw a quote about 6 months ago. It said to take the stones they throw at you and build a monument with them, which and it's almost like, come bring it on and I will use that as almost like a bit of a fire,
Yeah, I suppose
use it as energy.
It's still.
Does it still hurt you when you get them?
Sorry?
Does it bother you? Does it hurt when you get the criticism?
The only thing that bothers me is how much I'm putting into something to not get, I sometimes think, I'm putting so much in here, and you're because there's in boxing's got one of the most hardcore sort of fanatical support groups, and they just sit on there all day. Literally, I'll put a post out now. I'll have 3 replies within 10 seconds going, "You're shit, you're this, you're that." And I think, wow, that was quick. Like, how'd you do that? And then that's again when you start analysing things, going, well, actually, they're just sitting there. And by the way, some are trolls. Some are put in place by other promoters, we get that quite a lot now. So I think you can't take it too seriously. But if you're frail or you don't, then you have to come off. If it really affected me, I would come off it.
Yep.
And I still think today, if I come off it, I'll be a lot happier, to be honest.
So can I ask you a question, Eddie, that builds on it then? Because I'm interested in terms of, you mentioned the boxing there, and we're talking about how these opinions are almost magnified or distorted. How do you deal with sort of deluded fighters? When you're working with these guys that have got sort of an inflated sense of how good they are or how popular they are or how much they're worth. How do you deal with them?
With transparency and honesty, right? That's quite difficult because, boxing's quite transparent in terms of your value, right? You either sell tickets and put bums on the seats and people tune in to watch you, or people might pay to tune in to watch you, or you don't. Right? So they're the only factors that represent your commercial value. We have this argument quite a lot now with women's boxing. I've sort of championed women's boxing for many years now, and we've got it to a point where it's in such a great place, the likes of Katie Taylor and etc. And now it's like the call of women should get should be paid the same as men. And I go, well, no, women should be paid the same as the men in terms of the value that they represent to the sport and to the business, right? When we talk about equality is not a gift. Equality is something that is a level playing field, right? If Dave, the world champion from Birmingham, sells 10,000 tickets and sells 50,000 pay-per-views, then, Terry Harper, the world champion from Sheffield, our female world champion, sells the same, she should make the same money.
Yep.
Right? It's just about, and you'll sit down. I mean, I have that conversation 10 times a day that you just said. X wants 200 grand for his fight. How do you work that out?
Yeah, but you're in an interesting position though, Eddie, because you've got to go out there and tell people how great they are, and you've got to sort of build up a reputation or an image for these fighters as their promoter, and yet privately you've then got to say to them, but you're not there yet, or you're not. But you just have to. I think honesty in all walks of life is something, and again that comes down to when you get older, when you get a little bit more comfortable with yourself, you don't have to tell lies. I mean, I can't remember the quote. I know it was Oscar Wilde, someone who basically said, I love being truthful because I don't have to remember what I've said. Right. And that comes down to being comfortable in what you do and what you say. And I prefer now, just like, my dad has got to a stage where he's so brutally honest. We might have those meetings. He might pop into the office and say, oh, what, and the bloke's like, we want this. Oh, mate, go away. Just leave the office. You're a dreamer. Go away. I'm going, all right, Dad. All right, off you go. I'll handle this. But it is a case of, the business that we're in is very transparent in terms of the value that you deliver. But some people don't see that. Some people don't understand that. And it's just a communication thing. It's a relationship thing. Yep.
And it's having the trust of someone. And sometimes you build trust with clients. Tony Bellew is a good example of someone that, we worked together for so long that in the end, it was, Tony, this is what I think for you next, just whatever you think, just let me know, I'm fine. Right? Not how much am I getting? Yeah. I deserve this. He just says, I trust and believe in everything you do for me.
So personal relationships are really important for success for you then?
Yes, absolutely. But also that belief that someone has in you, for me, is probably the biggest motivator. So if I've got that relationship with you and you're telling me you are the man that I trust with everything in my career, right? I can't tell you how much that inspires me to do a great job. Anthony Joshua the same.
Yeah.
He'll still make the decisions, but ultimately says, you're the man, right? I trust in you.
Have you read a book by Bob Iger, the former CEO of the Disney Corporation?
No.
You should read it. You'd really like it. I mean, he made big, brave, bold decisions to move Disney to a whole new place, Eddie. But what is really interesting, he said his superpower is only making decisions that he absolutely believes in, not decisions that will please the board, not decisions that will please his wife or please other people, making sure that every single decision he doesn't need to convince himself. He knows it's the right thing, because that means if it goes wrong or it doesn't go wrong, or when people question him about it, it's a really easy answer, because he's like, I fully, wholly believed in what I did. And I think you have to have the confidence that you've now obviously gained over the last few years to make those kinds of decisions, even when maybe even your dad is going, no, that's the wrong call. You have to believe completely in that decision.
Yeah, you have to be able to stand by it. I mean, I'm still a bit of a faffer sometimes. You know, I feel like I should.
You're surprised by that, aren't you?
Yeah. I think sometimes I should pull the trigger a little bit quicker on stuff, and sometimes I'll overthink menial things.
Like what?
You know, I might go out and do the, I don't know. Looking back, we did Froch Groves at Wembley. You know, when we did that fight, it was like no one's ever sold more than 16,000 tickets, and you want to put this fight in an 80,000 national stadium. But when I walked through the players' tunnel, I just went, we're doing it, right? I know we can fill this place. But on my other stuff, you know, I don't know, it might be the design of, you know, some artwork for a show where I'll, no, this needs a little bit more, you know, a little bit darker colour there. And, you know, and then I find myself going, what are you doing? And that's really when we, yes. But I think when we talk about the expansion of the business, when I started the boxing division, we had 2 people in it, right? And we did everything. You know, we did the poster design, we did the fighter contracts, we did the TV rights deals, you know, we did the health and safety. You know, we went to the arenas and signed a contract. We looked at the hotels, we booked the flights, right? Yep. And as we expanded, it was difficult for me to let a lot of the things go that I felt I built my stamp on what we're doing. So I don't want to give it to you to do it, because you don't understand my mindset, not in terms of the work ethic, but the vision I have for this sport. So that's been a big challenge for me, is to build the right team of people that you can delegate to, because that's very important as your business starts to grow. You can't get, the faffing that I just talked about. That's bad news. You know, you can't focus on that. You have to focus on the bigger picture, and you have to build a team of people around you that and when I go back to, fighters making me feel motivated when they give me the responsibility, that works in the same way with the workforce. You know, my dad has always drummed into me the importance of looking after your employees, and your team, financially, creating a fun work environment, because all those things, we go back to your first point about, anyone listening to this who's just in a job they don't really like. And can you think of anything worse than going to a job and rocking up at 9 o'clock, just thinking, I don't want to be here, I have no future here, I'm unhappy, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And that's something at Matchroom that we try and create, whether that's coming to live events, whether that's a gym and a pool at the office where we can motivate people, whether that's team stuff together, whether that's giving people bigger bonuses or sharing in the profit of the business. But most importantly, of all those things that are all important, the greatest feeling for an employee is getting the responsibility from your employer to run with something, or to say, yes, you're doing that. And I try and do that all the time. We never recruit at a senior level. All of our senior level operators and people within our positions have come from 15, 16, 17-year-olds who started at work experience at Matchroom. They've been there 15, 20 years now, and they're all senior level guys.
So what do you look for in them then, Eddie? So when you're seeing these kids turn up looking for a job, what was it? So if someone was listening to this, what is it that you would try and observe and find out about them that you would then bring them into your empire and trust them?
I don't want to give too much advice, because I think every person is different. Every person, every employer is different. Everybody looks for different things. For me, it's about the energy and the purpose, and I'm not saying this is how it should be done, but I honestly know whether I'm going to employ someone within about 5 seconds of them walking into the room.
But if you could articulate in that 5 seconds, what is it that you would see or feel that would give you that confidence?
It's no science. It's almost like a sparkle in the eye. It's the belief and the purpose that you have. Listen, of course I read CVs. Of course I want to make sure that I'm not employing someone who's just turning up on the blag. But it's someone that comes in with the desire, someone that says to me that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Not the person that asks, how many holidays, like how many days do I get of holiday a year? And, I'm actually an hour and a half away. So do I have to be in at 9 every morning? Or, now I'm thinking, could you please just leave?
But it comes back to the passion thing that you spoke about right at the very beginning. Maybe if they don't have your passion for it.
But it's different. But it's difficult, isn't it, to have the passion of something
business.
that isn't yours, right? Yes, I've got passion for what I do because it's my family business. My dad built this from nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, you can't fuck with us and nothing will stop us and we will not be beaten. But how can someone who just is a part of that feel the same way? And we have got people at our business, probably a dozen of these people that feel like, someone tweeted the other day, I've been here 10 years now. This feels like family to me.
Great.
Oh, that was, I mean, I don't know whether they meant it or not, but what a tweet to put out. We were like, me and my dad were like, yes, let's promote this individual, but it's got to take over your life. Like when I say to people, you can't live a normal life. If you want to get to the top here, you've got to make sacrifices. You're going to be working events at weekends and you're coming back in on Monday. Days off in lieu, or, I can't be at that event because I'm going on holiday. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to make sacrifices that will make you unpopular indoors, right? I do it all the time. And sometimes you're in a position where it's like, you want to be a good husband, you want to be a great father, but you also have to be so selfish sometimes and say, I'm sorry, like, I love you more than anything. I have to do this, right? This is too important to be missed. And those sacrifices, being away from home, missing birthdays, whatever it might be, again, you don't want to be an arsehole, but you have to understand that to achieve greatness in business, you have to make fundamental sacrifices day in, day out and push yourself beyond. And sometimes you'll sit down with someone and they will tell you that I will do whatever. Talk is cheap. You could sit down in an interview with an employee and say, I will do whatever it takes, and then you find out this person doesn't quite have the substance. But it's just something that engages me to say, you know what, I like you. I know you're bright. I've seen your CV, but I like you.
Bit of charm.
I think you're going to go the extra yard.
Just give us an idea, Eddie, for people at home. They want to set up their own business. They want to live a life like yours. They've got ambition. How hard do you work?
There isn't a second in the day where I'm not thinking about the business. Not 1 second.
Wow.
I mean, obviously when I'm asleep, but from the moment I wake up in the morning to the moment I go to sleep, and very sadly, I will wake up in the middle of the night. Last night was a good example. I went to bed at, 11 o'clock. I woke up at 1:43 and I checked my phone and there was a load of emails coming in and WhatsApps from our American business. And for the next hour and a half, I did emails. And it's not like, I know I shouldn't do it and I know I should turn my phone off and I know, but you can't, I want to do it, right?
Like you said at the beginning, you love it, you enjoy it.
Yeah, but that's the difference, isn't it? Yeah, I know, but that's the difference. Everybody knows the famous day when you find something you love to do, you'll never have to work another day in your life, right? Yeah. But that's, if I was doing that at 1:30 in the morning in a job I hated with people I didn't really want to work for, then I would be so unhappy. I would have no choice but to, then you're not doing it for the reasons that will make you great. You're doing it because you have to do it. So and for me, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like the last 2 years, I would fly from, we'd do a show in LA and I'd fly on Sunday back to London. I'd go straight to Manchester for a press conference. Then I'd come home. Then the next day I'd go up to Scotland or wherever it is for another press conference. Then I'd come home and then I'd fly to New York. Right. And then I'd go there for 3 days and then I'd fly back and then I'd go to Liverpool or wherever we're staging a show. It's just, and in the meantime, when I get home, my wife will say to me, here you go, darling. Here's this little thing called the kids. Off you go.
But can I ask you about that, Eddie? Because I love hearing about that sort of hectic schedule. Would you tell us about how you manage those relationships with your wife and kids, that they understand that and you're still able to be a good husband and father? What's that private conversation like?
I think when you marry into our family, the Hearns, you sort of have to, I think she knows me inside out. She knows that it is so important to me. And she knows that, the business, the family business, the legacy that he's created is everything. And she'll hear from him a lot, on a Sunday. And it's just, sorry, it's almost like, sorry, dear, this is what's got to be done. That's how he would talk to my mum. And my mum, you know, has accepted that over time, you know, and it works. You know, don't always think that being at home 9 to 5, you know, coming back doing the same thing every day, routine with your missus, you know, is the basis of a great relationship. Yeah. I mean, we have a great relationship because when I see her, I'm excited to see her. It's, you know, it's fresh. We've been together for, you know, over a decade and married, you know, and it's like, yeah, we get back and I'm back. Right, let's go for dinner, you know, and then we've actually got stuff to talk about. The harder thing, I think, is the kids, you know, I think because when I'm back, if I put 110% into my work, I put 220% into the kids, right? And that makes the whole process even harder, because if the tank was empty when I got home, you know, now I'm getting home. I've landed in the morning from LA. I've gone to Manchester. I've driven back and it's 7 o'clock and I want to go to the park, right? And then they want to go and run around and they want to go on their bikes. And then I've got to get, you know, then I want to watch a movie. And it's like, and then you get to a stage where now you just can't sleep because you've missed you. But it's just, I think it goes back to parenting. Like from my dad, if I said to my dad, oh, Dad, you know, I'm so tired. Like I've got in and from LA and Liverpool, and then, you know, I've had to play. He'd go to me, oh, shut up, you tart. That's what he'd say to me, right? It would never be like, oh, you know, you need to slow down, mate. You need to take a little breather. It would be, oh, shut up. Go to the gym and have a sleep and get up and get on with it in the morning, right? Because it's like, and I guess that's a little bit dangerous, but I think if you can just, I don't know. I think it goes back to sort of, I feel like mentally, he's probably the strongest person I've ever met. Do you know what I mean? Yep. And I think it's so important to just have fun, relax, not take yourself too seriously, not to overthink things. And I think his simplicity is get up, you work your absolute nuts off till you go to bed. And guess what? You wake up the next day and you do it all over again. Right? That's it. And when, you know, I mean, if you had him on this mindset podcast, like he would almost be like, guys, why are we talking for an hour about this? Just work your nuts off.
Please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a thumbs up, leave a review, but somehow get involved with the High Performance Podcast and become part of our growing community. Thanks for being part of the adventure.